Today, we're going to learn how to do some basic maintenance on a Honda CBR250R. Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today we're going to do some of the basic maintenance you might have on a Honda CBR250R. I recently picked up this motorcycle. It's a 2013 Honda CBR250R, which is an amazing little beginner's bike or a good commuter bike, something like that. It gets great fuel mileage. It was owned by a young lady, a friend of a friend, and she's moving. She sold it. It hadn't been running in several years, and I pretty much knew what it was going to need. I drained the fuel and the battery is dead on it. So the first thing we're going to start with is we're going to install a new battery. But before we get to that, there's a few things I'd like to update viewers on this channel of. I recently was contacted by a company, and they sent me some stuff here. So this will be the first time that a company has given something to my channel. So I'm going to open the box here on the channel real quick before we get started. So I've been contacted by some companies ever since my YouTube channel has started, but mostly it seemed like silly stuff or scams, that sort of thing. And this company contacted me, Super Clean they're called, out of Minnesota. They contacted me and said, hey, we're going to send you some products. And there was really no strings attached. I didn't have to make a certain amount of videos or anything like that. Just use the products if I like them. So let's see what they all sent me here. Okay, so we have some Super Clean cleaner degreaser. That could be very useful. And then we have a spray bottle. I was expecting a small amount of stuff. Oh, wheel cleaner, that we can definitely use in here. And also, there's some floor absorbent. And they sent me some items here. So I guess I'll put these on. We're going to be sponsored by Super Clean for this video. And I've got some paperwork. We'll look at that later. Let's get to the bike. All right, so like I said, the battery is dead. I've already jump started this thing, and it does start and run. So you know, there's not going to be any of that sort of stuff, how to get it going or will it run type of a thing. But what we need to do is get the battery changed, and for that, you use the ignition key down here. Pop the back seat off. Throw it on the floor, kick it out of the way. Then you got to remove the front seat. This is a 5mm Allen. Okay. Make sure you set these somewhere where you're bound to lose them later. There you go. Remember that for me, please. And there's our battery. And that is removed with a 10mm bolt here holding this retaining strap on. And then we'll remove these two bolts. Also, I'm trying a different microphone on this video, so if the audio is better or worse, please let me know. So once this bracket is removed, you can lift the battery up, and that'll come right out. Remove your battery. And I purchased a replacement battery already here. And we'll try to get the bracket back in first. There's a lip that bracket fits in on the bottom here, so you have to make sure you have that installed correctly. And then we're going to install our positive cable first and then our negative. And then once those are hooked up, you install the bolt back in here for this bracket. Now that our battery's been changed out, we can fire this thing up. And of course, once you get a new battery installed, you're going to have to reset the time and all that sort of good stuff. we know this starts and runs. I'm going to warm this up off camera, and then we're going to move on to oil change procedures. Okay, I say this on my channel quite often, RTFM, read the freaking manual. And you can buy manuals online. If you're lucky, you may be able to find some of these on different forums. People may be able to send you some of the pages. So everything is in the manual, tells you how much oil it takes and the type of oil to use and that sort of thing here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to look underneath here. I have a variety of different drain pans because some motorcycles are lower than others. So I'm on the right hand side of the bike here. If we go underneath, you should be able to see the drain plug right there. It looks like it's a 14 millimeter. So we'll get a socket. We'll remove that and drain the oil. You'll have to retract my last statement. It's a 12 millimeter, not a 14 millimeter for that drain plug. Now for the oil filter. This motorcycle has a cartridge style filter, not a spin-on, and it is on the right hand side of the engine, right underneath here. Now there's a 10 millimeter bolt you remove here, and underneath the front there's a very small Phillips head, or JIS, Japanese Industrial Standard, screw that you have to remove underneath here. This panel is also held in with a bolt underneath here, but to get that off you have to take the whole side cowlings off. If you want to do that, that's fine, but this is a very flexible plastic and we can just hold it out of the way. So now we have to remove these 4 bolts, and this cover will come off. Oil's going to come out of there, so make sure you have your pan underneath here. I've got them all loose. This last one, let's take it out. Okay. Underneath here there's a spring. We got a gasket right here. Fortunately this one is in good shape. I did not buy a new one. That's something, if you do your own maintenance, you should probably have one of those on hand. Now you want to pay attention to this filter. It came out like that, and that large side inside there. So when we replace it, you want to put the new one in just like that. I bought a 2-pack of filters here. So I'll open them up, we'll get one installed, and we will continue on. When you reinstall your cover, first of all, make sure the spring doesn't fall out. Mine just fell out right before I put it on. But put 2 bolts in, that'll line up the gasket on the back side. And then of course make sure you have it on the right direction. And read the manual for the torque specifications. Every nut, bolt, screw, washer has a torque spec on a motorcycle. All right, now that we got that tightened up, let's give this super clean a little shot here on this greasy area. See how it works. This whole inside of this thing is covered in oil. Well, considering that it just sat on there for a second, it's doing a pretty darn good job. I think if I let it soak in for a minute or so and hit it with a toothbrush, I'll probably take all this off. So I'm going to spray this all down, we'll clean it up, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so this whole area was all coated in grease. I hit it with the super clean, hit it with a toothbrush after about 30 seconds, and then just wiped it off with a rag. Cleaned up really well. I think with some water it'd do even better. So next we need to add oil, and according to the manual it's 1.5 quarts, or 1.5 liters I mean to say. 1.5 liters, 1.6 quarts with a filter change, and it calls for 10W30. So I do not tell anyone on this channel what kind of oil to use, so follow your owner's manual, please. I'm going to top it off and we'll check it right here in the oil sight glass as soon as we're done. Anytime you finish an oil change, what you always want to do is you want to start it up and make sure that you have no leaks around the areas you've been working. So I've already done that off camera, but start the engine, check around your filter, whether you have a spin-on filter or this cartridge type, and then check under your oil drain plug. Then you check your oil level, top up if needed. Now I've added just under the required amount, so we should be at the low level. I haven't even checked it yet because I just shut it off right before the camera. I mean, after I ran it, I haven't checked it, but check it, top up if necessary. Well, while I've got you here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the oil level check procedures on this, because if you have a bike like this, chances are that it may be your very first bike, and if you're watching this video, you may be very new to maintaining your own motorcycle, and I applaud you for that if that's the case, because you can save a lot of money doing simple things like changing out your battery, your oil filter, and then we're going to move on to the air filter and spark plug here shortly. But an oil level check is a very important thing to do, and motorcycle manufacturers have made it more difficult than it used to be. You used to get a motorcycle with a dipstick and it was really easy, but what they want you to do is they want you to set the motorcycle level. Now when it's on the side stand, of course you're leaning at an angle. I've already put it under a small piece of wood here, but it's still not upright. As you can see, it's leaning a little bit still to the left, and the oil check glass is way down here on the bottom. So if you have a friend, it's much easier. If you're doing it by yourself, what I like to do is I get down here and I put a hand up here on the bike and I put my knee up against the bike and I lean it over, and you can kind of start to feel where it's level. See, I'm not even touching it. There's my other hand's on the camera, this hand is here, so it's on my knee. This is a small bike, and the oil level window is way down here, so you have to look down there. Now I am using my hand here now, but that's just to kind of rest it against my knee and my hand, and I'm leaning way down here. So you have to be kind of a contortionist to check that thing. So whatever way works best for you, but check your oil level regularly, and definitely check it after you do the oil change. Check it twice, and there's procedures, of course, in the manual. It says you're supposed to run the motorcycle for 3 to 5 minutes, then let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes. So follow the manual, do it safely. And okay, now we're going to move on to the next procedure, which will be the air filter. Now we're going to move on to changing out the air filter. If you're interested, there's your part number for the air filter. It's accessed right here under the seat. So of course remove the seat like I showed earlier. And there's 2 screws. I've already loosened the one on your left here. Loosen this other screw. It's got kind of these built-in deals so the screws don't fall out. And this is what the back of the filter looks like right here. So you can see it's got these little tabs. You just kind of push those, and let me try to get my hand out of the way here. You push these tabs and the filter drops down, and then you just pull it straight out. And you can see it has those tabs on the front, so you just slide it on in here. You should feel those kind of engage into the front, and then you pop it into the back, and that's it. And then we put the cover back on there, and that is done. Okay, the next maintenance task we're going to do is we are going to change the spark plug. Now this bike only has, I think, about 5,000 miles if I remember right, and the spark plug doesn't need to be changed that soon, but I'm just kind of going through the whole thing here, and it's not going to hurt anything. To get to the spark plug, you have to take off these side cowls. I've already taken the one off of this side, and I'll show you what you need to do to get those off. There is a Allen head bolt right there. There is one underneath here. Whoop, excuse me. There you go, right there. And then there's one on the inside right there. These have already been removed. And now, let me put you in the stand. This thing is held on with some clips along here. There's 3 clips. Trying to get you set up so you can kind of see there. So you just got to give it a little bit of a tug and pull those out. Try not to break anything. Sounds like something snapped a little bit there. Hopefully nothing too serious. There we go. And then one up on the front here. And we are off. And then just remove your turn signal wires here. And that's it. Took me a second to realize what that plastic piece was that came out of there. And there's a little connector that goes right there, so that's what it is. So we'll have to try to replace that one. Now if you look at this, you can see someone has what do you call it, plasti dip this bike in the past, and then they peeled off the plasti dip. So if you ever do that, try to do a better job. This is kind of trash, but we'll clean that up. And we'll move on to the next step of getting the spark plug out. Our next step is going to be to remove this radiator mount bolt up here. It's 10 millimeter. Take that out. And then there's this little rubber bit that sits on top of the radiator. And you can see it's hooked on the front of it, kind of. So we have to take that off. If I can do it with one hand. There we go. And I'll get the other side. And now, down here, you slide the radiator this way, and then it's going to pop out of the way a little bit, enough that we can access the spark plug up here as soon as I get this other rubber bit off. Alright, so the radiator is loosened up and dropped down out of the way. One thing the manual doesn't tell you, but you have to pay attention to, is this wire on the fan. It attaches right inside of that clip, so you have to kind of pull that out to get enough room. And there's the spark plug cap, so we'll move that out of the way. There we go. And then hopefully I can get in there with my socket. If you have a spark plug socket, that'll be the best, but I don't have one of this size. So we're going to get in there and we'll remove it, and I'll show you what the old one looks like. Alright, so if you don't have the correct spark plug socket, a 16 millimeter, and then what is this, 1, 2.5, 3-inch extension, something like that, works pretty well. The only problem is the spark plug socket usually has a piece of rubber in there that kind of grips the spark plug to get it out. So once you get it all the way loose, it's not going to come out with this. So you can do a couple of things. I used a flexible magnet, but a piece of rubber hose that fits over this works really well. And I'm going to show you that for installing in a minute. So here's our new one. Here's our old one. This one actually doesn't look too bad. Make sure that you check your manual here, use the correct spark plug, and check the spark plug gap before you install. Now one thing you don't want to do is get a spark plug cross-threaded when you got that much room to work in, because if you have an issue like that, you're going to be removing the entire engine. So if you use a piece of hose, you can insert your spark plug and then use the hose to turn the spark plug. That should ensure that you don't cross thread that fella in there. Now we might have to cut this hose down a little bit, we'll see, but you just push it in there like that, and then you just turn the hose, which in turn should turn the spark plug. It's not going to turn it enough where it'll get cross threaded, so that'll prevent that from happening. Spark plug torque, 12 foot-pounds. So make the click. Of course, you know, use the proper tools. And then we're going to put this all back together. While you have your side covers off, if you're doing this, now's the time to clean it up. If you decided to paint your bike and didn't mask it off, it'd be a great time to clean it up. Very disappointing. Okay, now that we got this bike all tuned up, let's clean it up a little bit. Of course, like I said, I got this super clean, so we're going to try this out. This wheel cleaner, it says to get the wheel wet, spray the super clean on, leave it on for 30 seconds, and then hose it off. Turn the nozzle on first. That wasn't in the instructions, but we'll try it out. And I'm going to use a toothbrush. Just get it on there good. And part of good motorcycle maintenance is, of course, cleaning your bike. Keep it clean. You can keep an eye on what's going on. So, if you'd like, try out some of that super clean goodness. Well, that should be most of the maintenance items that you're going to do on your Honda CBR250R. And the 300R is probably about the same bike. I don't really know the differences between the two, but I imagine everything I showed you here would be the same on that, as well as the CRF 250 and the Rebel 300. And so Honda used this engine in all those bikes. And here's the good thing: if you have one of these bikes, you're probably going to spend about $300 for everything that we did right here. And in parts, it was about $75. So you save yourself quite a bit of money if you do it yourself. Everything was quite easy, I thought. Well, of course, I've been doing it a time or two, but nothing required any sort of special tools. So, all right, if you're digging what I'm putting out, give me a thumbs up. Leave some comments down below if you would, please, so that I know that you're watching. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.